And I'm chatting today with the guy known as Conspiracy Music Guru, Alex Michael, over there in Spain. What's up, brother?
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me on. Finally, we connect.
Indeed, yeah, it's been a long time coming. It's a conversation we probably should have had by now, but we're setting it straight today at least.
Yeah, thanks for ruining my life when it comes to the music, mate. Thanks. I can't trust any of it. That's what you do, though, isn't
No problem. That's what I do. That's my job.
it? I like it. No, I have a real zoomed out perspective now of the music industry. I started looking into it, 2012, 2013, and looking at all the symbolism and everything. And then I think I bumped into you around the same time online. And then it just all became really clear. And at the time, I was learning about all the bastardization of everything else: the water, the food, the air, the education system, the medical system, and then all that was the final puzzle piece. It was like, of course, music is something we all love. Why wouldn't they bastardize that? And it seems they've done it in every way, shape, or form.
That's right. And I do feel my job is slightly easier than that of many other conspiracy researchers or truth researchers, because when you're talking about the financial system or banking or governments, a lot of people find those subjects a bit dusty and dry and boring and they're just kind of zone out. But you start talking about music and you bring names like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and David Bowie and the Doors into the equation. Who doesn't want to have a conversation of that nature? Who doesn't want to know more about the music industry? If you dangle that carrot and say, oh, the stuff you need to know about the true nature of music and what it's really used for, very few people are going to say, oh, I don't want to know about that. Most people, I feel, are going to say, well, what is it? Tell me more. Then you've got to.
Yeah, because most people cannot conceive of the idea that these four likely lads from Liverpool, there could be anything dark behind them, or if there could be anything nefarious behind them, guiding them for social engineering. No one would say that. But like you say, when you dangle that carrot, go, there's something a little bit different and you didn't know about the Beatles or whomever. I mean, pick your band. I mean, they're all pretty much part of it, and all the ones that have influence. So yeah, it's like it's like the Paul McCartney thing as well. It's like, there's no way, there's no way, there's no way. And it does. It builds that intrigue. You're like, I have to look, because everybody loves music and they want to know if they're being deceived in some way, shape, or form through the music that they listen to, and it turns out they are.
That's right. You do get a lot of denial from people who can accept that the industry is corrupt and it's toxic and it's satanic and it's pushing agendas, but that doesn't apply to their band, their favorite band. It's everybody else, just not their band. Their band were bucking the trend and going against the grain and stuff. So people just don't seem to want to hear it when it comes to favorite names. And, the Beatles are an obvious candidate for that. A lot of people
Yeah,
just
and
don't
Pink
don't want to
Floyd
hear
as
it,
well.
is it?
Pink Floyd, or someone who's like deeply attached to Jimi Hendrix, as I was. Even Eric Clapton, who I absolutely adore and love. I've loved him for years. But when you start looking, I mean, he was pretty vocal about the old arm spear, which was nice. But then he went on to start doing "God Save the Queen" and that at some event. It's like, come on, put two and two together, mate. And there's some darkness there when it comes to his son falling out of an apartment window, which I just don't get. That, I mean, is that some kind of sacrifice? And I for the longest time was like, no way, Eric Clapton, no way, Eric Clapton. But the more you look, you're like, maybe.
Were these big influences on you, the Beatles, Eric Clapton?
Yeah, Eric Clapton was. I mean, my solfeggio albums, which are like healing instrumental music with embedded solfeggio healing frequencies. That's very Pink Floyd-esque. And Eric Clapton was known as the slow hand of guitar solos. You could hear every note. He wasn't going a million miles an hour like Steve Vai or Joe Satriani. He was doing this really vocal sort of bends, and I loved that and always have loved it. And I kind of emulate that a little bit. And it was definitely an influence, and it still is an influence. Those just slow guitar solos are beautiful on those albums. So that was a big influence for me. Yeah, the Beatles. Yeah, my mum. I grew up listening to the Beatles, and those, those 3-minute catchy pop songs. I know differently now. Records like "I Want to Hold Your Hand." It's just like something that a child would listen to, and let alone "Oh Bloody Oh Blood Da." It's like, it's so like, come on, it's a fucking insult, really, to music.
And that's before we get to Paul McCartney's Frog Chorus song.
Oh God, I've even got it in my head now. Thanks for that.
Yeah. If it's even him.
Sorry.
If it's even him, but
If
that's
it's
another
even him,
matter.
yeah. What about that? I mean, has he been replaced, or is the original coming back? And then it goes back to do they keep swapping just to keep us confused? And who's that guy in the garden with the Foster's can? You know, talking who looks and sounds exactly like him. Was he a part of this?
It's a total mind fuck, mate. It really is.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job, but it's incredibly intriguing. But I know there's deception there. When you zoom out and you just look at it all, you know, you just see just deception everywhere, and you see agendas being pushed, and you see the bastardization of music, let alone the frequency that the Rockefellers changed to the keynote standard of 440, let alone the compression that takes out, you know, compressing to an MP3 that removes 80 to 90% of the audio information. So all of those essential overtones and undertones are missing. And, you know, the soul that I put into the music, the intent that I put into it as well, which I think, you know, sound waves are carriers of consciousness. So when I put my intent into it, you know, maybe they're stripping that out of it when you compress it in the name of convenience.
Was this a slow, gradual process for you coming to terms with the realities of the music business and how energy operates and things much further afield? Was there a single moment of epiphany for you, or was it a process that you
No,
went through?
it's been very gradual. It's just an evolution of enlightenment, if you want to call it that. You know, at first you have to do your dark night of the soul and realize that you've been lied to your entire life about every frickinology, biology, geology, cosmology. It just goes on and on and on. And you know, I thought I'd reached the peak of, you know, of knowledge, really, to arrogantly, when I started understanding the cosmological lies and the you know, the heliocentric, the heliocentric, or whatever you want to call it, that the heliosorcery, you know, I refer to it now. And I thought, wow, there's no bigger liar than that. But then afterwards, you know, the virology scam came along for me. It's like, oh my God, you're telling me that doesn't even, oh, of course. So it's just this step by step by step. And I'm sure there's going to be another step where you're like, oh, of course. And then you start looking at what's going on with Netanyahu and Iran and Iraq and Israel and that. And there's so much deception there. So you just keep, you know, opening doors and finding more lies. And it's just, so it's not like this, aha, I get it. It's like this evolution that I started with, you know, Illuminati and fluoride in the water and chemtrails and all that sort of stuff. And I think eventually by 2016, when I got to, you know, understanding, you know, heliocentrism was a lie, that gave me that creative burst to get in the studio and start writing songs about it.
Sure. So we're chatting to you over in Spain, but you don't sound very Spanish. So where are you from?
I'm originally an Essex boy, born and bred Essex. Yeah, I'd spent my whole life there till I was about 42. I've been here for the last 12 or 14 years. I came here on holiday with the missus, and I just loved it. I always thought Spain was Benidorm and Lager Louts. That's what I thought. But I came to a part of Spain which is just absolutely gorgeous, right on the coast here, and I fell in love with it. And I saw the landscape and the weather, and I love the sun as well. Don't get a lot of that in the UK. And I just thought, well, why can't I move here? You know, I've got an online business. All I need really is a laptop and a room dedicated to make music and stuff. And so why? So we just dipped our toe in the water. We thought, let's rent a place for the first 6 months. So we rented for the first 6 months, and we just fell in love with the place. And you know, here I am, 12 years later.
Yeah. Many chemtrails in that part
Oh,
of the
you're
world?
muted. You just, yeah,
How
you
about
just
now?
went completely. Oh yeah, yeah, you're cool now. Yeah.
Many chemtrails in that part of the world?
When I first arrived here, no, and I was bragging about it. I was going, "No, there's no chemtrails here." Yeah, yeah, yeah. But as the years have gone on, I've noticed you know, an increase in that particular agenda. And I can even, you know, almost set your watch by now. You know, I know in July and August they don't spray at all. My buddy, or our buddy, Mike Wilkerson, Stellium 7, he has a theory that because there's so many tourists in the area in July and August, they're all, you know, on their sunbeds, lying there looking up. And if all of them were to see the lines and the streaks and the cloudiness and the mist and the fog and the crap all fly, you know, then maybe that's why they hold off in those particular months. But sure as damn it, every single September when all the tourists go home, it's absolutely full of lines.
That's a pretty sound theory, I think, of Mike's there.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. There's a lot more people. There's like about, I don't know, I think there's about 50,000 people in Javea where I am, and it doubles to 100,000 in July and August. So yeah, it makes sense.
So have you always been a musician all your adult life?
Yeah, pretty much. I come from a musical family. My dad was an organist in a band with his brothers in the 70s and 80s. So there was always an organ, a Hammond organ in the house or a piano. So I started playing around on that when I was about 4 years old, doing, chopsticks and that sort of thing. Loved the piano. Did my first gig when I was 8 years old in an old people's home. And they went round with the glass, and all the old OAPs were putting a quid in, and I got it back, and it was like 8 or 9 quid in it, and I was like only 7 or 8 or something like that. And I was like, oh my God, I could make money. That was a huge amount of money for me as a kid. And that's when I kind of thought, oh, I can make money from making music. And that's always been my goal, to make money from making music, no matter how. I just wanted to be involved in music. So I did DJing for 10, 15 years. I was a karaoke compere as well. All this is all in Essex. I was a singer. I was doing I was doing wedding receptions, and I was doing the acoustic guitar stuff. So if any pub in Braintree or in Essex in general wanted some entertainment, they usually called me. I had a ringtone business as well, where I was making 30 little second jingles. That was quite successful for a while, and then the truth hit me, and I thought, I can't make any more tepid love songs. I'm gonna have to, it felt like I had a purpose now. I had something to say, and to put it into music is an incredible way of reaching people, with comedy, with information, with that catchy chorus. And it's just I guess I did my apprenticeship, as an 8-year-old on that piano, doing that gig and doing all those pub gigs and everything. It's kind of set me up for what I'm doing now, which is, I'm in my little studio and not doing those gigs anymore. I've not got loud, drunken people bumping into my equipment and, spilling pints over the mixer and all that sort of stuff. So I do it from my own little man cave, and I've been fortunate enough to reach a lot of people over the years. Now it's a different story with the censorship. I can't even reach a couple of thousand people, even though I have a following of about 150,000 people, but I'm virtually invisible to them.
What sort of DJing did you do? General purpose club stuff, pop stuff?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was doing pubs that had a 3 o'clock license, so pub/club kind of thing. I did a couple of 3 clubs and that, and I would always start off with a bit of mellow R&B and hip hop, and then as the evening progressed, I would do more prodigy stuff, at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then sort of bring it down to sort of some more, it kind of depended on the night, really. I kind of sort of read the audience as well, and I would do cheesy nights as well. They would book me to do a cheese night where you're playing, all the cheesiest song you could possibly think, or 70s or 80s night. It's basically what they wanted, and I just had the gear, had the I had a good ear as well, so I could mix pretty well. I've got a good ear for timing, so that was my living for like 13 years, and I loved it. It was sex, drugs, and karaoke. It was great.
Yeah. It's bringing it all back to me, flashbacks of what my life was like for 20 odd years doing it full time. I was playing sort of R&B, hip hop and black music in the clubs, but I don't miss a lot of what you were talking about there, drunken louts and bloody late nights. And when I started out, people were still smoking in clubs, and there'd just be like this grey haze hanging in the air, and you'd get home and your clothes would stink and you'd feel dirty. And there's so many things I don't miss about it. I'm happy to have had the experience, but I'm glad that I've come out the other side now and I'm doing something different.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't regret any of those. They were brilliant years. It was just absolutely incredible, just to be doing that. And, that's how I met my wife. You'll know when you're DJing, sometimes you have a pen and a pad next to you so people can write their song requests. And I picked up one bit and it said, "I think you should come home with me." And I looked, and there was this girl smiling there, and that's now my wife. So once we started dating, I couldn't no longer be this 35, 40-year-old DJ in the clubs womanizing till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Something had to change. So I'm glad that I met my wife, and it's taken me, and I'm a completely different dude now. It's just, so yeah, I look back on those years really, really fondly. I had some incredible times and had some incredible nights. And I don't regret it in the slightest, because it's led me to, I see that as a real shallow existence now. There was nothing whole there was nothing whole about it. So so now I'm happily married in Spain now, and I love it.
These experiences are like stepping stones, aren't they? Because you going through all that got you to where you are now, and it kind of had to happen as part of the process. And it's like that with me. I had to go through those years of DJing and being involved in the periphery of the music industry and working in radio and stuff to be doing what I'm doing now, to come to terms with the true nature of the music industry and be equipped to put that information out. So these experiences are important. We can look back at them and they might seem fairly shallow and vacuous, but they were a means to an end.
Yeah, yeah, completely. Like you say, stepping stones, and it's an evolution. And you just look, I was getting into trouble with the police when I was a teenager because I didn't have the family unit. I didn't have my mum and my dad weren't particularly supportive. They split up when I was about 14, so I was getting into trouble and getting in the, hanging out with the wrong crowd and stuff like that. But you kind of have to do that sort of stuff to realise that you shouldn't be doing that sort of stuff. So it's just it's just an evolution, and God knows where I'm going to be in 5 years' time. But so much has changed in the last couple of years. I didn't think I'd be going into the event space, organizing events. I didn't think I'd be doing conspiracy music. I didn't think I'd be doing ringtones. I didn't think I'd be, but here we are, just doing these different things and trying different things and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. It's way more interesting living like that rather than just doing the same thing for the rest of your life. And I know people that have been working in factories for 30, 40 years, and I can't think of anything worse. That's like a death sentence to me. So like trying these new different things and just, exploring different avenues. I mean, it makes life worth living, I think.
Oh, for sure. So in terms of your music making, after the piano, did you get into guitar? Was that the early thing for you?
Yeah, I played the piano and the keyboard, for up until I was about 20. Well, I still play the piano. There's a lot of piano, and I do. I've got a big piano in front of me here, which you can't see. So I still play that, but my love turned to when I saw the guitar. I don't know why I hadn't even thought to pick it up earlier, but I started playing the guitar at 21, so a very late bloomer. But by the time I picked up a guitar, I'd already had enough knowledge on the piano to know what chords were, chord structure, melody, that kind of thing. So, and chord progression. So when I picked up the guitar, it was like I knew what I needed to do, but it's just a case of getting your fingers to work, like muscle memory. And when I started, learning a few solos, it was like, oh my God, this is why hadn't I thought to pick up the guitar before? It's now my first love, and I'm now surrounded by about 14 guitars and one piano, so that should tell you something.
Right. What sort of stuff were you into early on that inspired you guitar wise? Were you into punk and new wave and stuff like that, or indie?
I
Any
was
of
I
those
was
things?
listening to the virtuosos like the Steve Vais. I just couldn't believe that somebody could do that with a guitar. I could hear every note, like it was just like how it's like. That's not normal to me. I mean, there's no way my fingers can ever work that fast. But there's a lot of guitarists out there now. Matteo Mancuso as well. He's only in his 20s. He's the most incredible guitarist I've ever seen, and he's playing like a bass. It's just these guys, these virtuosos, they absolutely fascinate me. It's just they're not real. And so I was listening to a lot of that. The instrumental stuff. It just fascinated me. The lyrics kind of get in the way for me. I never listen to the lyrics. My wife always makes fun of me because I can't remember the lyrics to all these songs because I'm too busy listening to what the drums are doing, the bass, the keyboards, the guitars, the rhythm guitar, the lead guitar. I'm analysing every aspect of it. So that's what I like to listen to. And I guess that sort of influenced me, on the solfeggio stuff that I've done. There's a kind of, it's like that instrumental bed, that really nice, soft, lovely ambient soundscape with some nice soft guitar solos over the top. I wouldn't do it a million miles an hour like Steve Vai, one, because I can't, and two, because this is supposed to be kind of relaxing music. So you want those very slow hand kind of David Gilmour, Floyd-esque kind of solos to it. So, I've always liked the instrumental stuff, the instrumental guitar stuff.
Yeah. Do you record your tracks to 432 hertz?
Oh yeah, everything I do is made from 432 from scratch. So all my guitars are tuned to 432. Anything that I do digitally through my piano or whatever, I can tune that in Logic, minus it 31.6 cents, and it becomes into 432. Harmonicas are a bit of a problem because they're all tuned to 440. You can buy them in 432 hertz, but they're bloody expensive. So yeah, everything that I make from scratch is made in 432. And I sell the uncompressed WAV full quality versions of my albums on my website, because by the time you get to if listening to it on Spotify and YouTube or whatever your streaming platform, it's already bastardized at that point. A lot of people say, oh, do they convert it to 440? They don't. They keep it in the original tuning, but what they do is they compress it to 320 kilobits a second if you're on a good I think Spotify might be 320 or 192. I'm not sure. But even that removes 70 to 80% of the audio information, so you're removing those overtones and those undertones and just all the warmth and everything. But most people can't tell the difference. But it's a real shame that people are listening to music like that these days. That's one of my bugbears, that people don't listen to music anymore. They have it on in the background. They have it on while they're working or in the car or whatever. Gone are the days when you can listen to like full quality, unbastardized, uncompressed, with the right intent, with the right frequency. Put some headphones on, shut your eyes, remove all distractions, and just listen to the bloody music. No one does that anymore. And if you do with the right music, I think profound things can happen. And I've proved that. If you go on my website, conspiracymusicguru.com, and click on the tab that says reviews, you'll see all the testimonials from the people that have listened to my true solfeggio albums, my healing albums, my instrumental albums, that actually do that. They immerse themselves in the music. And then you can see continued reports of people saying, I had this ailment, now it's gone. I had this, now it's gone. And I won't go into detail of, these particular ailments, because I don't want to say it's a cure. I'll get in trouble for that. But just go on the website and click on reviews and see what people are saying.
Sure. You have a lot of kids listening to music on their phones these days. That's their idea of how you consume music. And by the time you've got a file on a phone, it's probably, 96 kbps or even less. So the majority of the information that was there in the first place has been stripped away. And
it's not music anymore. It's not. Right. It's no longer music at that point.
Right, because people aren't trained to, they don't have trained ears, so they don't realize that there's vast quantities of that sound missing. And it's not the original recording anymore.
Yeah, and isn't that a shame? And I think there's we're sold the idea that it's for convenience. Yes, now we can get 20,000 songs on a phone, but I think there's something a little bit more nefarious at play there.
Well, no doubt. And I do talk about this stuff in many of my lectures. And I've had some people come to me and say the 432, 440 thing is a psyop, and actually, it's misinformation. I'm not a musicologist. I'm not a musician. I don't have a trained musician's ear like you. So as someone that studied the science of sound, you would say that there is validity to 432 being the harmonic frequency.
I would. Now, there wasn't a change from 432 to 440. There are many different tuning standards, but there are a few composers that were 432 advocates, like Verdi, for instance. Like Verdi, it's known as Verdi tuning. But what's suspicious to me is the Rockefeller footprint all over the funding for the keynote standard of 440. Cymatically as well. Look at 432 cymatically. It will give you nice, clear, coherent geometric patterns, and 440 will create this muddiness, And if we're to believe we're 70-80% water, then I think I would like my water to be structured in, these beautiful geometric, coherent patterns. So cymatics is a bit of a clue, but I'm more of a, the proof's in the pudding kind of thing. So when I created my solfeggio albums, which are all my music's in 432, I created these solfeggio. So I don't think that pets or children have a concept of placebo. So I'm definitely convinced that there's a for nature and the golden ratio and Fibonacci frequency, the Fibonacci sequence and numerology and all that. And you can go and look at that for hours and hours on end. But I'm more of a let's see if the music made with the right intent, with the right. So there's definitely something to it.
At what point did you transition into the conspiracy music?
And I'm kind of doing that, really. I am guiding, I am teaching, I'm sowing some seeds, and it's nice. And conspiracy music, that's what I'm doing. I'm putting conspiracies and truth into music and teaching and guiding. So I thought Conspiracy Music Guru. It's a bit. Just finished my 7th album. So Conspiracy Music Guru was born in 2017, and it's been going almost 9-10 years. I'm going to have to change because the internet hates me. Every social media platform hates me. It's become abundantly clear that they don't want me there. I think they realize the power of truth put to music. It can be very powerful, rather than people listening to 2-hour, 3-hour, 4-hour podcasts of information. I can do a whole truth grenade. That's why now I can't even get a couple of thousand people to see my latest music video. Even my website is demoted on Google, because I put all the lyrics to all of my songs on all of my webpages. It's just filled with you name it, from I won't even say the word. It rhymes with drazzle flip. I've even mentioned that in some of my lyrics, and I think because I'm mentioning these these very dark topics that this is why I get demoted. So it's very frustrating, and for the longest time it pissed me off. It still does piss me off. It's like a constant kick in the balls. You know, you're trying to do something good for humanity. You're trying to leave this apartment better than how you found it. And you know, as I said to you in a Facebook comment, you know, no good deed goes unpunished.
So it seems. And as you said, conscious message music is a great way of getting a point across, because you can encapsulate it all into a 3 or 4 minute song that really stays with people. And when you add humor into the mix, and particularly your stuff, satire, the spoof, the sarcastic sort of mocking type humor.
Even if you don't even resonate with what I'm saying, you know, talking about, you know, the moon landing being fake or whatever in a particular song that I did called "Do You Still Believe We Went to the Moon?" Even if you're like not on board with that topic at all, you can still enjoy the song, and it's much more shareable as well. They can share it, sending supporters in my comment section saying, "I don't believe a word you're saying, but the song's really good, man." So it's really powerful like that. It's way more shareable when you add a little element of tongue-in-cheekness and comedy.
And then another element is the visuals, because you create videos as well. You produce all those yourself?
Yeah, everything. It's a pain in the ass. Don't get me wrong, because if I'm going to make a music video, I have to take a deep breath, because I know I'm going to be awake for a good couple of months, you know, thinking and analyzing how I'm going to position myself in this particular scene. You know, I've been floating and stuff like that on the ISS and doing all the the harness fails and all of that sort of stuff, you know, mimicking that. It's a hell of a lot of editing. It's a lot of work. It takes me about 2 or 3 months to do a 5-minute music video with the green screen and that. But if you're going to do it once, just do it as best as you can, because it's going to be on the internet forever. Well, who knows, but it's going to be there for a long time. So that's what I did, you know, probably good 8 years ago. I was doing a lot of green screen stuff, but now I'm doing slightly different video editing. I'm blessed to be having it looks like I've got a band now. I've got a guitarist and a bass player. So we're doing some live stuff in the studio and recording it that way. It's a lot easier than green screen stuff. So, but yeah, the editing was a huge amount of work, but I'm so glad I did it. I look back on those videos today even, and I just think I'm so glad I put that much effort into it, because like, as you say, those visuals, they're just, you know, for children as well. I've had a lot of mothers contacting me saying, they tell me they use my videos, my music videos to educate their children on the deceptions of NASA. You know, they love a catchy chorus, and of course, who doesn't like a cowboy and a little fluffy dog, you know, which I've got in most of my videos. So yeah, very, very powerful stuff, that.
Yep, that's the way to do it. And as well as your satirical sort of sarcastic mocking humor type songs, you got some more empowering ones that are a bit more sincere in the message, I guess, and just really trying to inspire people through music, a bit more meaningful, a lot of your content.
Yeah, because I didn't want to, I mean, I love doing the comedy stuff, don't get me wrong. And that's had a profound impact on a lot of people. But, you know, I wanted to break out of that flat earth man character, right? And not, I didn't want to be typecast as that. You know, I've got a lot to offer. I play the piano, I sing, I've got a soul. And I understand some of the hardships that people have going through this awakening. You know, for instance, one of the songs I wrote was called "I Want You to See," which is a guy who's singing a love song to his wife, who's frustrated that she cannot see what he sees. And it's a very touching love song, really. But it's also a truth song, because I know there's a lot of couples out there that suffer with this. It breaks apart families, this kind of information. So I've written songs about that. I've written songs about my father-in-law's jab injury. You know, I wrote it from the perspective of him being in his hospital bed, saying, I wish I would have listened to these people that were trying to tell me not to have this intervention. So yeah, obviously, you know, when you're surrounded by this stuff and you see the woe and you see the pain, you know, it's hard not to put that into music sometimes. So yeah, there's been some rock stuff as well. You know, when I was very frustrated, as I saw you were as well during the COVID years, I just couldn't believe that people were acquiescing, that people were complying to that sort of stuff. So, you know, I was very, very angry and frustrated. So I got into the studio and started shouting into a microphone. And as I said many times before, I don't need a therapist. I just need a microphone. I just shout like, why can't you see it? You television watching news believers, you know? And I was going, television watching news believer. And I had this anger in me, and it was just. I thought, well, that sounds like Metallica. That's what's his name, James Hetfield. So I'm like, right, I'm going to make a Metallica side. And then I did another one like called Big Pharma shouting, and then I did another one called I Told You So. And it's just like So that whole rock album was therapy for me. It's like my music is just like my evolution as an artist, just going through all these different frustrating times and emotional times and putting it into music, and people are also going through that and they resonate with it.
Would you say Convid was a career booster? Because for me, it was a double-edged sword. It was a horrible time to live through, and I did get pissed off and frustrated. But it created a full-time job for me, which I'd never expected to be the case. Maybe it had the same sort of effect on you.
Yeah, it's a full-time job, and it did create a lot of content, but of course it comes with the censorship. So it's like the worst business decision I've ever made in my life. I'm now busier than I've ever been, and my income is the lowest it's ever been. So again, price to pay for authenticity, right?
Yeah, always a price to pay.
Yeah.
No good deed goes unpunished, for sure.
Yeah, I was going to actually say your God series, mate. That I really resonated with that. It was like I've been sort of speaking that speak for a while, and I shut my mouth in the end because who wants to hear that? But you should be able to say there's something very, very suspicious about this, and you articulated it so well in your God series. So thank you for that, man.
Yeah, no worries. That's another thing that I wasn't expecting to do. It was never part of the plan. I just kind of transitioned into doing that in early 2024, and it's become like a sideline to my main work. And I think that happens to a lot of us in life. We just find ourselves going down a particular course that was never in the plans, but circumstance and experiences has led us that way.
Do you think there'll be a book?
Oh, definitely. That's the next book.
Great. Love it. Brilliant.
For sure. I'll be doing that next year.
Great.
All right. So we should talk about your gathering in September. You've got an annual gathering there in Javea, Spain, just along the road from Alicante, I think. And previously, I think, if I'm correct, these were more like social occasions and gatherings of like-minded people. But this one is much more a structured event with musical elements to it. So just tell folk what's going on there.
Yeah, the event was. I had an event here last year at my villa in September, and that came about from a buddy of mine wanting to do an event in Portugal, and I said, no, I don't want to travel. I've got some visa issues and that, and they said, look, and I just went, no. I said, well, how many people are you thinking of having? He said 50. And I said, well, why not have it at my villa? And I didn't realise what I was letting myself into at that point. But and I didn't advertise it massively. I didn't go public with it. It was just sort of, if you're in the know, if you're following me on my Patreon, that kind of thing. It was just, close followers. And that grew to about 80 people. And we did the music. And it was me and my buddy Franz and Jasper as well on the bass. We created this band and this sound and this just we were singing conscious, awake and aware, defiant songs and just being surrounded like-minded people and it was just incredible. It really struck home to me that having these kind of in-person events are really, really important. Face-to-face time, getting away from the internet, because I've always been in my man cave trying to reach as many people as possible and not really having much human interaction. When I did that, I was like, wow, these kind of things are really, really important. So many people walked away from that weekend saying it was the best weekend of their life, me included. It was just an atmosphere. There was something to it. And I mean, we had it on the equinox as well. So there was definitely an astrological energy to it, I'm sure. So we're doing that again September this year. So I don't want to have it at my villa again because we just didn't have the plumbing capacity for it. Some of the toilets overflowed and that it was a bit of a mess. But so I thought, well, I've got to try and find an event-ready place. A place that's got to have a music license because we're going to be making a lot of noise. The noise that we had here, we did have a couple of complaints from the neighbours, but they were very respectful. So I found a place. It's right on the coast. It's like a huge bar. It's got a 400 capacity. It's like 10 meters walk from the beach. The area it overlooks the Bay of Javea with the Montgo Mountain in the distance. It's just absolutely gorgeous location. So we're doing it again this year, and we're going to step it up. And now I've got a band. We're going to take full use of the sound system that's in this sort of venue. It doubles up as a nightclub as well, so I would imagine they've got a pretty meaty sound system. So we're going to go bigger, harder, stronger, more people. And if people want to come and see me live with my new band and be surrounded by like-minded people who are on the level, if you know what I mean, food and drinks included. There are also wraparound events. Dave Mantle, who I mentioned, who originally came up with the idea for the original Guru Gathering, is having some wraparound events. So what I mean by that is there's something happening before the main event and something happening after the main event, and then there's the main event right in the middle. If anybody wants to have any more information on that, go to conspiracymusicguru.com/events, or just click on the events tab. All the information is there. DJ Mark Devlin in the house as well. So playing some uplifting, what?
Totally, probably soulful house, uplifting, feel good,
Nice.
soulful house. Maybe a few disco revivals, bit of disco house, that should go down
Nice.
well in the sun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the sun is 99% guaranteed, and also as well, everything's a lot cheaper in September because we're just slightly outside of the tourist season. So everything's a lot cheaper. So if you're going to go on holiday, come to Holiday on Spain, spend an extra 100 quid, or if you want to do all the whole events over 4 days, I think it's 200 quid. That's all your food and drink included as well, and the entertainment, and the Guru band as well will be in full effect. And also on the wraparound events, which is going to be a more intimate setting at a villa, poolside villa. I think we'll be playing an acoustic set there. So it's going to be great, and I can't wait. I didn't ever expect to be in the event organizing space, but as I said before, the internet doesn't want me there anymore, and so it's a good thing. As I said, it pissed me off for the longest time, working so hard. I need to be continuously kicked in the balls in terms of shadow banning and censorship. But now this is a good thing. I'm seeing it's pushing me away from the internet and into the real world. So it's an exciting time.
Yeah, totally. And as someone who organizes events myself, I know how important it is to get those ticket sales in advance, just to make sure that the event can go ahead, because there's costs to cover and things that need to be put in place. So if people listening to this like the sound of the idea and want to spend a few days in the sun in September, I'm sure you would urge them to just get those tickets in advance if they can, via the site, just to help it happen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've only been promoting the event for about 10 days, and already we've had enough ticket sales to secure the event in terms of deposit. So that's very, very encouraging. And the tickets are still at the early bird price of 110 quid, I think it is. And that's a midday to however late we go on, however long you want a DJ for. And then they've got a house DJ as well. I think it's up until 3 o'clock in the morning, 4, 5. It depends how long your stamina is. So it's an all-day event. There's a 3-hour open bar. All the food is supplied tapas style. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good, and right by the beach as well. So I think it's a pretty good price. The price will be going up to about 150 quid, I think, in July. We'll see. But I really want to get 200 people if I can. If I can get 300-400, the event is more than capable of catering for that. So we'll see. But the initial response has been great. So I'm really chuffed.
And I think another value of these type of events is that they're basically speakeasies. You can have open conversations with like-minded people. You don't have to censor yourself. You can just say what's on your mind, and you're going to be with people that get it, that are on the same page as you.
Exactly. That's so valuable. We were going to have speakers. We were going to have presentations, but the events that I've been to in the past, most of the fun is had outside in the car park or at the bar. Most of the conversation, it's almost like the speakers get in the way sometimes. So we decided to do this event slightly differently, with just not having any speakers or any presentations at all, and just people gathering. That's why we call it a gathering, and just having those conversations with like-minded people is so essential. And of course, making connections as well, and great music in 432 hertz live as well, unbastardized.
It's sanity salvation. Looking forward to that big time.
Yeah,
it's going to be
we need
great,
a bit of that. We need a lot of that, actually.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. All right, Alex, wish you all the best with that. I'm glad we finally caught up and had that conversation. It's been a long time coming. If we were going to play out with one of your songs and music videos, and you had to pick one over and above all others, which one do you think we should go out with?
Oh, well, I think it might have to be I Told You So. It is the most popular. I mean, it's been overplayed in my mind for so many years because I'm just, but it's a song that resonates with so many people. It's the most popular song on my channel. I made it in a couple of hours, just me being frustrated, shouting into the mic saying, remember when I told you about this? Remember when I told you about that? Well, I told you so. And it's basically a rock blues song, and you can't go wrong. And when we play that live, the whole place erupts. So it's the most popular song I've ever done. So why not finish with that?
Indeed. All right, we'll do just that. Cheers. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4. I told you so. I told you. I told you so. I told you. Remember when I told you about 9/11? Remember when I told you about Building 7? Remember when I told you about the fluoride in the water? Yes, I did. Remember when I told you about the New World Order? Remember that? Remember when I told you about the chemtrails in the sky? Remember when I told you that NASA was full of lies? Remember when I told you about the ultra mind control? Well, I just want to say that I told you so, yeah. Remember when I told you about 432 hertz, that is, and what 440 can do to you? It hurts my ears. Remember when I told you about the vaccine agenda? Yes, I did. And that Michelle Obama is a transgender. Yes, he is. The dinosaur fraud, the climate change scam, and yes, Sandra Bullock is also a man. Remember when I told you that there ain't no globe? Well, I just want to say that I told you so. 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 Yeah. Remember when I told you about the TV flicker rate? And how it puts your brain in an alpha state? Remember when I told you about germ theory? Remember when I told you about gravity? Remember that? Remember when I told you about Paul McCartney? Remember when I told you about direct energy? Remember when I told you about Monsanto? Well, I just want to say that I told you so. 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 Yeah. Remember when I told you about the mainstream media? Your so-called celebrities and pedophilia. Remember that? Child trafficking and adrenochrome. Remember when I told you about the Georgia Guidestone? Remember when I told you about the false flag operation? Remember when I told you about 5G radiation? Remember that I told you that? Well, I just want to say that I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. I told you so.